The imposter syndrome as a yoga teacher is so real. And if you've ever felt it, you are not alone. I have worked with yoga teachers all around the world for years. And it's actually one of the top things that yoga teachers really stress about and really worry about is feeling like an imposter, not having enough confidence in their teaching. So this video is going to be all about some of my tried and true ways to be more confident, more clear, more happy as a yoga teacher. I'm Brea Johnson of Heart and Bones Yoga. I have been teaching yoga for over 2 decades. I've taught yoga teacher trainings and thousands of teachers all around the world through Heart and Bones Yoga. And, and there's nothing more that I love is to cheer on yoga teachers, to help you get out of your own way so that you can serve the people in your classes, so that you can make an impact. And most importantly, remember why you started teaching in the first place. A yoga teacher imposter syndrome really shows up as a lack of confidence. It's a lack of clarity about who you are as a teacher, why you're teaching what you're teaching. And I think the imposter syndrome comes out for so many reasons, but because I think at the core, it's because we care. You care what you're doing. You don't want to teach a bad class. You want people to feel great. You want more people to have the benefits of yoga. And you've probably had teachers who inspired you, and so we're putting ourselves on this pedestal, or we're putting this pressure on ourselves as yoga teachers to be the best, to know everything. And in reality, you're not going to be the best teacher. You're never going to know everything. And I say that playfully because, well, that sounds sort of like you're never going to be the best. It's because you're not, because that's not the point. What is the best? What is the point of knowing everything? So let's drill it back for a moment and remember the practice of yoga is a practice of self-awareness. This beautiful ancient wisdom tradition that has been come to us here in the West from India and is timeless. It's a living tradition. And at its heart, at its core, is about the self-awareness, knowing yourself. It gives us tools to know and see who we are with care and compassion. We look at our mind states of imposter syndrome, not feeling confident enough as a teacher, we can look to our practice of yoga to give us the tools to find that confidence. So let's talk about what a good yoga teacher is. So a good yoga teacher, in my mind, is somebody who's human. Not AI, but human, meaning that we're just really just showing up as ourselves, our beautifully imperfect selves. A teacher who's able to laugh at their mistakes in the moment, a teacher who's able to create spaces where people feel welcomed, where they feel seen and supported just as they are. That's a good teacher. A good teacher isn't somebody who can do a one-armed handstand or do all the poses. A good teacher isn't somebody who has the most perfect sequence out there, because I don't know if that even exists. A good teacher isn't somebody who has 1 million Instagram followers or the most popular classes at your local studio. So once we can recognize and etch into our hearts, right, okay, a good teacher doesn't mean it's a popularity contest, or a good teacher isn't somebody who knows all, because there's nobody on this earth who knows all. The point of being here in this practice of self-awareness is meaning that we're going to be learning about ourselves until the day that we die. Having that humility and curiosity to say, yeah, I don't have all the answers, but I have some ways that I can help you. As a teacher. That's what a good teacher is. We all go through a yoga teacher training. We all get excited, and then especially if you're a newer teacher, and then you get out into the world, you're teaching your first class, and you're standing in front of a whole room of people, and they're all looking at you expectantly, and you freeze. And you go, what am I even doing? Who am I? What am I doing? They're going to see right through me. They're going to see that I'm like so nervous that I don't know what I'm doing, and all that, right? Have we all been there in different ways? Most likely. So how do we get past that fear and the doubt and that feeling like we're an imposter? We've gone through what a good yoga teacher is and what a good yoga teacher isn't. So number one, hopefully that helps. Right, I can show up imperfectly. I can show up as myself, because when I do that as a teacher, I give permission to the people in my classes to do that for themselves. And that is really, really, really good teaching. Another part about feeling like an imposter and not having enough confidence as a yoga teacher is the fact that it requires public speaking. You have to stand up in front of people and explain things to them. You have to stand up in front of people and give them instructions. You have to not only give them instructions, but also know that this person can't really do that, so you need to give them a variation. And at the same time, oh, that person's not really doing that. And I gotta, like, there's a lot of multitasking involved. It's a lot of management of yourself, management of your class plan and the classes. But first and foremost, it's how do I even stand up and talk to people? So if that is one of your fears or one of the things that you're struggling as a yoga teacher is that sort of public speaking and being in front of everybody, that's something that there's no magic bullet, there's no magic pill, I should say, that's going to make a big difference. In my experience, what I always recommend to teachers is you just got to keep teaching. You got to see the fear, nerves, and doubts and just keep showing up until it becomes a little less scary each time. But one of the ways that we can manage the fears and the nerves in the first place is to fake it till you make it. And I'm a big fan of faking it till you make it because it's not being inauthentic. We're not pretending to be somebody other than we're not. We're just faking and inviting the more confident version of ourselves into the picture. Because otherwise, the less confident version of ourselves is showing up and taking over and being nervous and going, ha, 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 ha. Right? So then you invite the more confident version of yourself, even if you have to pretend, even if that person isn't really comfortable or there yet. So I really love taking a moment. Here's my little tip, my friends. Taking a moment, especially if you're super nervous and you're subbing at a new studio or it's a new class or whatever the moment may be, have everybody start lying down. Or, you know, when we do our centering at the beginning, when everybody close their eyes, that's a really beautiful opportunity for you to bring in, to breathe, to ground yourself, use those practices of yoga. Okay, here I am, here in my body, here in this room, I'm feeling nervous. Okay, acknowledge that. Cool, totally normal. And now you just, okay, I'm gonna breathe in, confident me. Breathe in, confident me. And even if you're not 100% feeling it, it's okay. You get to walk around that classroom pretending that, yeah, I know what I'm doing, totally. And then eventually you will know what you're doing. And if at any point in the middle of the class you forget your sequence or you just start spinning out in your head, then this is what I used to do all the time when I was a beginner teacher. I would get if I found those moments happening, to recenter myself in the moment where everybody's looking at me. I have us go into Tadasana or Child's Pose or some other pose where we take a moment and I ask and I invite people to close their eyes or look down, find their center so they're all tuning in, feeling their body, and then you take your moment. While they're not looking at you, even in the middle of the class, and you take your moment and you go, okay, I got this, I got this, I got this. And it may not be as easy. Doing this work is not as easy at first, but I tell you, my friends, the more you just repeat it, it becomes normal. A really important and helpful way to get more confident in yourself as a yoga teacher is to know who you're teaching, why you're teaching, how you're teaching, and what you're teaching. And you can do this in a big picture sort of way, like who am I as a teacher, but you can also do this with each one of your classes. Having a plan, having it pre-thought out is so key, because that becomes your anchor. When you walk into the next class and you start to panic and you see everybody looking at you or you just get caught up, you can go, right, what was my plan again? Right. So the short version of this, there's ways you can really dive deeper into this, but the short version of this, let's say you're teaching a Saturday morning class at 9 p.m. or 9 a.m. And it's a gentle flow class. Okay, well, who do I want to tailor this class to? Who are the people that usually come to this class? Maybe it's people with low back pain. Great, so you write that down and then you can decide that's your who. Or maybe it's just the general public, people who want to gently flow. It can be as simple as that. You write that down. Okay, so then if people want to gently flow in this class, What are the different things that I like to gently flow? What gently flowing movements do I like in a class? Write it down. There's your sequence. You can go, now, why do I care? Why am I putting these poses in? Why am I doing this sequence? Well, because gentle flow helps us feel more calm. So thinking about the end result is what I'm talking about here. How do you want people to feel at the end of their class in a gentle flow class, for this example? Well, I want them to feel more calm. I want them to feel a little bit more limber and strong in their body. And for some of us, we write that down and we bring it into the class. And we may never even look at it in the class, and that's fine. And P.S., if you've ever been told in a teacher training or from a teacher, do not bring your class plan in, ignore it. That is not nice advice at all. We all have different brains and we all have different ways of retaining our classes, especially when we're beginners, so beginner teachers. So ignore any story that you've ever heard where you can't bring in your sequence. My friends, bring in your sequence. Bring in your sequence even if you've been teaching for 20 years. It doesn't matter because it's that anchor for you. Teaching yoga requires a lot of multitasking, and you might forget in the moment because you're busy paying attention and doing something else in the class, and then you're like, what was the next pose? You've got your little cheat sheet, your sequence right there. So if that's you, go ahead and do that and bring it and use it. Another way of feeling more confident as a teacher is normalizing your fears and your doubts. I think so many of us, that imposter syndrome shows up because we think that everybody else has it together. We think that all of our other yoga teacher colleagues and friends, they know what they're doing. They've been doing this for years. I'm the imposter. I'm the one freaking out, doubting everything. What's wrong with me? They know what's going on. I guarantee if you actually talked with some of your other yoga teacher friends and colleagues, and you ask them, hey, what are the things that you stress about teaching? What are the things that you're scared and nervous about? What's going to happen is that you're going to start to realize they have very similar fears to you, or even different fears, but the common thread is that they have their fears and doubts and worries. It's because we're human and it's because we care. And the more we can normalize that as yoga teachers and humans, we're going to have these doubts and fears, it's going to lessen them a little bit. And so when you see your fears come up in your next class, you'll have a little bit more of a moment going, okay, right. God, we all feel doubt. Or, oh my God, I forgot my left and rights today. That's normal. My friend Sarah does the same thing. So finding community and conversation for your yoga teacher fears with other colleagues is key. So reach out, find yoga friends and community to help normalize this stuff so that you don't feel like you're alone in your imposter syndrome. Another way that we can feel really confident in our teaching is to actually know what we're talking about. So if we did a yoga teacher training, that was one of those ones where we were taught to memorize or regurgitate certain cues for certain poses. You didn't probably get a very robust or in-depth experience of finding your own voice and your own confidence. So no wonder, if that's the case for you, no wonder you might be feeling more doubt, because you probably were fed these cues or fed this script that maybe you don't even understand the why behind the cues that you're using. Do I actually understand the mechanics behind that cue? And if you start to ask yourself that and you realize, oh, there's some gap in my knowledge, and most often for yoga teachers, it's a gap in anatomical knowledge. You probably got anatomy education in your teacher training, but it may not, as most of them are, may not have been as robust and functional for you to truly understand what joints and muscles need for healthy movement and how to apply that to all sorts of different bodies and abilities in your classes. So you might come out of your teacher training going, yep, yay, I'm ready, doing this. You might go into your class and then go, wait a second, all these cues that I was taught about these poses don't actually work for all these different bodies in my class. Oh no. What am I going to do? So there's then the lack of confidence, because you realize that you need more education. You need a little bit more refinement in what you were learning, which is fine. This is normal. A 200, 300 hour yoga teacher training, even if it's the best in the world, cannot fully prepare you for everything. And so in my experience with 2 decades of teaching, my focus here, of course, is very much more an anatomy aligned or anatomy-informed yoga, which means, again, having that sense of what the body does, what the joints and muscles need for movement. And then when we have that basis of understanding, then you are walking into your classes so much more confident. You're making your sequences so much more clear because you understand human movement. You can construct, you can deconstruct a yoga pose on the fly in the moment. You got somebody in the class with a knee issue, you go, oh, okay, I can handle that. The confidence that you gain from understanding fundamentals about the human body is huge. So of course there's various anatomy courses out there. I'm going to plug Heart and Bones online, of course. We have our 10-hour anatomy course for yoga teachers. That's really going to give you all of this. We have our 200, 300-hour training, and of course Heart and Bones online studio, which has a lot of really beautiful ways and education content in there. Okay. But most importantly, to gain more confidence as a teacher, to get more out of that imposter syndrome, is to just keep showing up, my friends. It truly is the case to keep showing up despite your fears. When we're in imposter syndrome mode, we're centering ourselves in the conversation. Our fears, our doubts, all these stories about ourselves is taking center stage and removing us from that core truth that we are enough as we are. That this practice is important and powerful, and we're here to teach and share it so that other people can know themselves better. So know yourself enough to see when you're centering your fears and doubts. Lovingly, with kindness, invite those fears and doubts to take a back seat. See the fear and teach anyways. Eventually those fears morph into a little bit more confidence. There's no magic bullet. There's no like, okay, do this and then magically you're never going to be nervous and doubtful again. That's never going to happen. You will feel doubtful. You will get nervous. You will second guess. You will feel like an imposter. But hopefully incorporating some of the work that we talked about today is going to lessen the instances of that happening a little bit more. Because you're showing up for the yoga, you're showing up for your students and the people in your classes so that we can all gain the benefits of this beautiful practice. Okay, so thank you for sticking with me this whole time and showing up for yourself and finding the change, finding the confidence, being okay with being imperfect. We need you as you are. Your students in your class needs you as you are. Laugh at your mistakes. Invite them to laugh at their mistakes, right? This is a beautiful, playful practice. Thank you.